Okay, the third tale, legend, I'm gonna read today from Legends of Northeast Scotland, written down. So this book was published in 1970, and the legends in here come from Scotland of old, so they can go back hundreds to thousands of years. And so this is Fenton Wyness who wrote down these legends. So this one's name is entitled "A Good Name Gives Strength." That noise is my dad working on the bathroom edition. My mom's here listening too, and Hedgie's here too. So this is a family story time.
Indeed.
Okay, a good name gives strength. There had been hogs in Blary-Drine for hundreds of years. The land on which they lived formed part of the Thaindom of Duras and the Mearns, and the hogs had been tenants there as long as people could remember. Blary-Drine lies on the northern slopes of the Grampians, that great mountain barrier which cuts off the northeast corner of Scotland from the rest of the country. The homestead of Blary-Drine stood high on the west bank of the Sheoch Burn, a swift-flowing stream which joins the River Dee at Kirkton of Duras. The ancient Crine's Cross pass over the Grampians, passed through the lands of Blary-Drine, so that the homestead of the hogs was a welcome sight to many travellers, as they made their way down the rough narrow between Craigbeg and Mongor to the valley of the Sheoch and on to Kirkton. Blary-Drine meant civilization again after many miles of rough moorland. Many famous travellers had crossed the Grampians by the Crine's Cross Pass, and people in Glen Sheoch often told the story of Edward I of England, the Hammer of the Scots, who with his mighty army had journeyed that way and lodged at the old castle of Duras, the manor among the mountains, hard by the River Dee. But that was a long time ago, and the year 1296. Now it happened that many years later, King James V, the poor man's king, was travelling to Aberdeen to attend a court of justice. As was his custom, he travelled in disguise, pretending to be a wealthy farmer and calling himself the Gudeman of Ballingyke. It was late October in the year 1527, the end of a wet and stormy autumn, and the king was very weary after a tiring journey over the Grampians. The route from Glenbervie had been hard, grim enough to chill the stoutest heart, for the hill streams were swollen, and the track was everywhere littered with boulders carried down by the rushing torrents from the higher ground. There was a chill wind blowing from the northeast, and the mist, close and wetting, only lifted as the king and his friend reached Redbeard's Well at the headwaters of the Cowie. As the mist cleared, the snug thatched buildings of Blary-Drine came into view, and a welcome sight they were, backed by a sheltering belt of pines with the blue smoke rising from the chimneys. Naturally, the weary travellers guided their horses towards Blary-Drine. The barking of the dogs brought Arthur Hogg, tenant of Blary-Drine, from the steading. Down to the east, he could see a party of 5 horsemen crossing the swollen Sheoch Burn below the mill. Slowly they made their way up to Blary-Drine, the youngest of the company riding forward to greet the farmer. He asked shelter for his master, the Gudeman of Ballingyke, and his companions, a request which was immediately granted, for Arthur Hogg was a kind man and well known for his hospitality. The weather became worse. The ford over the River Dee at Mills of Drum was made impassable, for the river had risen to a very high level. Consequently, King James and his friends were obliged to stay at Blary-Drine for several days. Quite unaware that the Gudeman of Ballingyke was the king, Hogg entertained his visitors generously, and when the time came for them to leave Blary-Drine, the Gudeman wished to make payment for the food and shelter they had received. Hogg refused, explaining that, although he was not a wealthy farmer, he was proud to work on the land and proud of his good name. King James was very impressed And as they shook hands and parted, the king said, "Always remember, my friend, a good name gives strength." It was about a year after the king's visit to Blairydrine that Arthur Hogg received a mysterious package from none other than the great Mareschal of Scotland. It contained a charter from King James V, the Gudeman of Ballengeich, granting to Arthur Hogg and his descendants the land of Blairydrine in gratitude for the hospitable treatment he had received when traveling in these parts. Thus a kindly farmer became a laird, and when in due course he recorded a coat of arms, he selected for his motto, "A good name gives strength." On the southern slopes of the Hill o' Fair, just over 5 miles from Blairydrine, as the crow flies, stands the delightful old House of Raymore. It now forms part of the Raymore Hotel, and many visitors admire the beautifully carved panel over its entrance doorway. Apart from its interest as a work of art, the panel is possibly the only surviving link in the story of Arthur Hogg of Blairydrine and King James V, for it displays the coat of arms of Arthur's descendants, James Hogg of Blairydrine, and the motto suggested by the poor man's king, "A good name gives strength." Thank you. All right, that's Tale 3.